Dragonwyck is a band from Cleveland, Ohio that was formed in 1969 and only ever really released a couple of projects, most of them not even being considered full-length albums. But today, Dragonwyck by Dragonwyck, their self-titled 1970 EP kinda, is a spooky delight in a couple words. It kind of gives me the vibes of the movie Monster House, but a little bit more gothic. It's a true experience to be had. I kept on finding myself thinking that I was getting the feeling of an uneasy carnival. I was almost like at, I don't know, Not Scary Farm or something, where it was just teetering on the edge of this is a good song versus, okay, these guys went a little bit overboard. And for the first three or four songs, I wasn't very sure about this project. I almost actually just stopped listening to it. But then I think it was track four that really like hooked me in because it had a really good solo in it. But for the first three songs, I was just getting the feeling that they would keep on building up to this crescendo. But then right before they hit the crescendo, it all collapsed and then they went back to slow. It's kind of like the feeling when you're about to nut, but you don't want to, so you ease off a little bit. You know, it kind of, like the satisfaction was never really reached on those first couple tracks, but then that point completely disappears when you're talking about anything later in the album. You could tell also that Dragonwyck, the band, went to India just before recording this album. There are very sitar-like phrasings on the guitar, and they're trying to do a lot of droning solos, which just means just they hold on to one note and they might bend it, you know, to make it sound like a different note, but they're just really just bow, 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 bow. There's a lot of that on this album, if I'm being honest. It's not really everyone's cup of tea. I mean, I pride myself in enjoying odd music, but this kind of got to the edge a couple times. One way I thought of describing this album is kind of like when you're on a roller coaster, but it's not a giant roller coaster to begin with. It's like if you've ever been to Knott's Berry Farm, I'm using Knott's Berry Farm as a lot of examples here, but it's just in my brain right now. It feels like the Camp Snoopy roller coaster for little kids, you know? You're just kind of going up, there's a couple bumps, you know, and you might get a little bit scared if you're a kid, but then halfway through it turns into fucking Montezuma's Revenge, which is the roller coaster that is in the semicircle and goes vroom, vroom. But that's kind of what a lot of these songs feel like. They start off slow and then they just get into it, just right into it. This entire album feels like it could be a soundtrack for some kind of shitty buddy cop movie in 1972. Believe it or not, the production on this album is pretty shitty. It sounds like a couple of guys got together in their garage and just recorded it, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's not too far from the truth. But in this album's case, the shitty production actually lends a hand to the experience of the album. A lot of albums with below average production like this one, it takes away from it. But the music and the bad production kind of go like that together. It's perfect harmony. The most delightful surprise I got during this album listening experience was when I reached the end of the normal EP and then the bonus tracks started. And I have to say, the bonus tracks are probably my favorite parts of the album because they try to step away from the more spookier elements and then they try just really focusing in on making good songs. Which I know that might sound like a little bit of a diss, because it is. I feel like if they just did more of the same with the bonus tracks, this album wouldn't be obscure. It would actually probably be a pretty well-selling 70s album for that area. But the fact that the bonus tracks are the best songs on the album makes me wonder, why the fuck are they bonus tracks and not on the actual album? It doesn't really make sense to me, but hey, I get it. The tone of the bonus tracks is a lot different than the tone on the normal album tracks. It's understandable, just not the greatest decision these guys made. Overall, I would say that this album is good, but not great, and that's why I will be giving it a 6.7 out of 10. All right, I'm Obscure Album Reviews, and if you have an obscure album that you want me to listen to and review on this channel, just drop it in the comments or whatever. I'm gonna try and start doing like 2 of these a week because I spaced out the last, I don't know, 20 days. I just didn't do one, but I'm back now. So yeah, let's get it.